Hello and welcome to Pet Writing Part 2, The Article, created by Dar Cultural in collaboration with Language Rooms. As always, the first thing you need to do is read the questions carefully and understand the task. Part 2 has two tasks, an article and a story. You must only do one of these tasks in approximately 100 words. So read carefully before deciding which one to choose. You should spend about 20 minutes on Part 2, including time for you to revise your text. Part 2 tests your ability to write an interesting text for a website, magazine, or newsletter, adding your own comments and giving your opinions. You should note down a few expressions for each paragraph, but do not write a full first draft of the text because you will not have time to rewrite it in the exam. When you read the question, make sure you understand who your target reader is. In this case, it's your school English language magazine, so they're your peers, people the same age as you. When you're writing your answer, make sure you use your own words and do not copy full sentences directly from the question. This question asks you to write an article about what you find funny and who you enjoy laughing with. That is your topic. Then there are questions. Do you think it's good to laugh a lot and why? So you must answer those questions. They are your content points. Cambridge examiners correct the writing tasks according to evaluation scales, and they look at 4 criteria: content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. You need to be aiming for 5 points in each of those 4 criteria. If you aim high, then you cushion yourself just in case you have suffered from nerves on the day of the exam. But if you aim for the basic pass rate, you might not do so well on the day. So always aim for those 5 points in each of the criteria. The first criteria is content. In order to get 5 points, all content must be relevant to the task. That means you must only talk about what you are asked to talk about. Stay on topic. Also, the target reader needs to be fully informed. That means you must answer all of your content questions. In order to fully inform your reader, you must keep your word count in and around 100. Writing fewer than 90 words means that you cannot fully inform your target reader. So you should be looking at 95 to 105, maybe 110 words maximum. If you want top marks in communicative achievement, you need to get your ideas across. Those 5 points are for using the conventions of the communicative task, holding the target reader's attention, and communicating straightforward ideas. So I need to understand what you're trying to say. The conventions of the communicative task means you must write an article with an introduction and a conclusion. You need a well-organized text if you want communicative achievement to happen. I can't understand what you're saying if it's not well organized. Make sure you use linking words like but, so, than, next, and cohesive devices. Make sure you organize your work into paragraphs and follow the introduction, development, and conclusion pattern. Look at the description for the 5 marks in language. You need to use a range of everyday vocabulary and of simple and some complex grammatical forms appropriately. You do not need to be perfect, so don't worry. But if you don't try to use that more complex grammar, you cannot get 5 points. So keep your language and your grammar varied. So how do I write an article? Articles need to attract the reader's attention. Bear in mind you are usually writing for someone who is more or less your age. The article is usually in a teen magazine or a school website, so they don't expect you to use formal language. You should divide your article into two distinct paragraphs, and you need to make sure that you get your reader's attention from the beginning. It's not a bad idea to start your article with a question or a statement. For example, imagine if, or would you like? Make sure that you direct the question to the reader. Any question that you ask in the beginning of the article must be answered throughout the article, so it needs to set up your topic quite clearly. Use strong verbs. I really love, as opposed to I like, and it's fantastic, as opposed to it's good. Give your opinion. You must give your opinion throughout the article, but avoid using the word I think over and over again. Instead of repeating I think, use words like I believe, I consider, I assume, etc. You also need to explain why you have this opinion, so make sure that you give examples throughout the article. A good way of organizing your thoughts would be to follow the order: statement, opinion, reason, example. It is very important to understand the level. We've looked at the scales, we've looked at what you're supposed to do. Now you're going to analyze other people's work. Print out the scales because you are going to use them to grade someone else's work. You are going to read one candidate's answer to the question we looked at the beginning of this video. I want you to pause the video, read carefully, and use the scales to mark this work. As you have all figured out, the level is very high. The candidate gets 5 points for each of the criteria. All the content is relevant to the task. The target reader is fully informed about what the candidate finds funny. I love to watch comedies a lot. And who they laugh with, my family. The final point is developed quite well and introduces a wider view. The conventions of article writing, like sharing personal information and expressing opinions, are used to hold the target reader's attention and to communicate straightforward ideas. The topic is clearly introduced. I love to watch comedies, and there is a nice balance between how the writer feels and how laughing affects the wider public. The text is generally well organized and coherent, and there are a variety of linking words and some cohesive devices. The comedy I love the most in the show, such as someone else for something more expensive, etc. There is a range of everyday vocabulary which is used appropriately, as well as examples of less common lexis. Phrases like challenging quests, capture the flag, tickles my funny bone. These are all examples of less common lexis. The candidate uses a range of both simple and more complex grammatical forms, in particular modal verbs, and he uses them with a good degree of control. Must overcome some challenging quests. Their storylines are very interesting and they always can help us to release. It may also make us attractive or some nice grammar forms. Errors are present, but they do not impede communication, and they are almost always present when the writer tries to use that more complicated or complex lexis and or grammar, such as they always tickles my funny bone. Okay, do the same again with the second article. Read it and use the scales to mark it. So as you can see, this article is of a slightly lower level. The candidate gets 5 in content because all content is relevant to the task. The target reader is fully informed about what the candidate finds funny: when someone falls down, who they enjoy laughing with, my family, my best friend, and why laughter is important. It's good to laugh a lot to have a good life. The conventions of article writing, such as sharing personal information and expressing opinions, are used generally appropriately to communicate straightforward ideas. I think it's good to laugh a lot. For this, I laugh for anything. The article doesn't have a standard introduction, but the topic is generally introduced with a sentence about what the candidate does. So I always laugh and for nothing. The text is connected and coherent. Paragraphs are used to separate the text into sections, and although these are often limited to one sentence, different ideas are expressed in each one, providing structure to the text. Some basic linking words and occasional cohesive device, such as a referencing pronoun, are used to connect the ideas. When, and, with my family, and my friend, but I really. Finally, language. Everyday vocabulary is used generally appropriately, as are simple grammatical forms such as the present tense. Used with a good degree of control, although there is no variety in terms of the tenses used. I like to watch, I really enjoy, I enjoy life like it is, etc. So, to recap, make sure you answer all the content questions. If you do not fully inform your reader, so if you do not fully develop those answers, you cannot get those 5 points. Give your opinion. A good idea is using comparative and superlative adjectives. Using these forms is useful for giving opinions. I think the most exciting, something is better than something else, etc. And try to avoid repetition. Don't use I think, I think, I think. Useful words and expressions for talking about what you like include I'm keen on, I'm fond of, I'm crazy about, I just adore. And don't forget to say why. The main reason, I think, this is because, I always do this because, I'm not sure why, but make sure you give examples for these things. An example once, such as when I, and ask a question. Have you ever? What do you think about? What would it be like if? Will the future bring us? Imagine if. Use linking words to connect ideas. And, but, so, because, then, next, as soon as, although, such as, in other words. These are all nice ways to create that glue that holds your text together. Vary your language. Make sure that you use a variety of vocab and grammatical tenses. Modal verbs, adverbs of frequency, comparative and superlative adjectives. These are all things that will help you to vary your language. Use as many unusual words as you can when talking about different topics. When you are beginning your planning, note down all the words you know about the topic. Try to use as many of those more difficult and complicated grammar structures, like the present perfect continuous, future perfect, conditionals. These are all things that will impress the examiner. Okay, now it's over to you. Write your article in approximately 100 words. Make sure to think about the scales while you're writing and try to get those 5 points in each criteria. Follow me on Facebook at the page Dara Culturale and Instagram on Dara Cultural, as well as language rooms on all social media for further videos like this one.